A setback for the Trump administration's immigration crackdown after a federal judge says it can't use a centuries-old wartime authority to deport Venezuelan migrants being held at a facility in southern Texas. The Thursday ruling from Trump-appointed U.S. District Judge Fernando Rodriguez Jr. permanently blocks the government from detaining, transferring, and removing Venezuelan migrants ages 14 and up at that specific facility. The Trump administration invoked the Alien Enemies Act in March to deport people it says are part of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. But the judge clarified the order does not prevent the administration from pursuing removal proceedings under the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1952. I know we're throwing a lot of laws at you. This is the law that has a provision that allows deportations of non-citizens deemed a threat to U.S. foreign policy interests. So for more, let's bring in CBS News Justice Department correspondent Scott MacFarlane. Scott, I never thought I would be as well-versed in the Alien Enemies Act as I am now, but I want to read something the judge wrote. The court concludes the president's invocation of the Alien Enemies Act through the proclamation exceeds the scope of the statute and as a result is unlawful. How did he get there? And does this mean anything for other districts in which this issue will be argued?
This is being championed by critics of the administration and those who've been representing would-be deportees in cities across the country. The judge says in this 36-page ruling, Lindsay, is that the administration has overreached, that there's been no demonstration there's an invasion of America, that this is a wartime as was drafted in 1798 when this 18th century wartime emergency power was first implemented. That being said, the judge also added that critical component you referenced, that he believes, and he puts in his order, the administration can still deport people through the traditional means, through the traditional powers used for deportation. And Judge Rodriguez, in saying that, Lindsay, echoes what other federal judges have said as they've looked at these cases. The chief judge here in Washington, D.C., the one who had ordered those planes turned around on March 15th with that first wave of Alien Enemies Act deportations, he also said his order wasn't to free the people who were being deported, but that the government should use the traditional means under the law, that this does not necessarily rise to the level of a wartime in which the Alien Enemies Act allows non-due process deportations.
During a press briefing on Thursday, CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang asked White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, really one of the architects of the Trump administration's immigration policies, about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador in March. Here's some of what he said.
This administration is not going to publicly discuss the inside details of our foreign policy and negotiations with a foreign country. And in particular, we are not going to allow a district court judge to try to become the Secretary of State.
This is an issue that you have been watching closely and speaking with experts on whether we're on the brink of a constitutional crisis. But here we have Miller essentially saying that he's not going to let some judge enact foreign policy. How would you characterize the administration's posture? We know also that this judge in Maryland is refusing to give the Trump administration any more extensions to turn over information on Abrego Garcia.
A couple of particularly important things there, Lindsay. First of all, I suspect the critics of the administration may be printing out what Stephen Miller said today and putting a highlighter over the phrase, "We will not allow the courts to do something." That's the type of constraint between executive branch and judicial branch, the type of face-off that people find destabilizing, potentially troubling, when the executive branch says it's going to stop the judicial branch from doing certain things. Let's put that aside for a moment. The other issue is this. Stephen Miller argued unequivocally today that he believes, the administration believes, Abrego Garcia is an MS-13 violent gang member. There's a bit of a delta there between what they're saying from the podiums and at press conferences and what they're arguing in court under the pain of perjury. The judge has ordered information from the administration about why Abrego Garcia was deported that way, why he has not been returned as initially ordered by the judge, what his condition is there, and those answers have not been forthcoming. The judge pushed those deadlines, as you mentioned, to next week, but she'd like to hear this type of information from an attorney in court, not necessarily from somebody at a podium in a press room.
The Department of Homeland Security, Scott, has confirmed Thursday that Chris Krebs, the former head of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, has had his global entry traveler membership revoked. Krebs is a CBS News cybersecurity analyst. What more can you tell us about this?
You have your global entry taken away. It makes it more difficult to travel internationally. And for certain people and certain businesses, it makes it more difficult to do business or be employable. What the Homeland Security Department said, Lindsay, is that it's been retracted from Chris Krebs, this global entry program, because of a potential, if not ongoing, law enforcement investigation. Doesn't go into more detail. We do know from Department of Homeland Security records, somebody who's subject to a law enforcement investigation can be removed from global entry. But there's a bigger issue here, Lindsay, than just Chris Krebs. There's concern here that by taking action against somebody the president perceives as an enemy, somebody who stood up and said the 2020 election was fair, it was legitimate, it wasn't fraudulent, that if you could chill a perceived enemy by doing something like this, you chill other people from speaking out or criticizing your administration.
Scott MacFarlane, thank you.